Thanks for joining us. We appreciate
I,
you.
yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share with everyone today.
All right, man. Current atmosphere for real estate, I'm feeling a lot of people are worried. A lot of people are scared. And some people are now into their multiple months of not seeing any transactions. I'm seeing that. But I'm also seeing teams like yours still continue to succeed and to scale and to grow. And I'm not saying you're not having a hard time and there aren't challenges, but you're continuing to grow. What what do you think what do you think the main reason is? Did you think about this before it happened? Are you doing something different? Where do we start?
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are struggling right now or not doing what they were before. I guess it's all that, everyone has a different definition of what struggling or what challenges look like. But there's always ebbs and flows in business, right? And it never stays consistently the same. It's not a straight line. And we always knew in the early days that the environment that we were in wouldn't last forever. And that's why we were so focused on building a brand. And everyone's got a different perspective of what building a brand looks like. Some people watching might send, a mailer to 500 homes and they've built a really dialed in brand in a farming area. Some might be super dialed in with social media. Others might be into prospecting. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. I chose to do the really mass media, omni-channel, in your face, everywhere type, create a brand in the market that I always knew was sustainable in changing markets. Right. And you saw in the, when I got in 2009, you saw a lot of people that faced challenges then, similar to now. There's a lot of things that are very different, but there are less transactions. It's a different world. And I think the reason why we're having the success we're having today is because of the branding. And you hear everyone say, like, there's leads, like everyone's offering leads all over the place, but high quality appointments, not low quality cold leads. So because of the investment we made in the brand, now we have high quality appointments, which every agent in the country is looking for now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So if we're looking to start now, right, and saying, okay, you know what, Kris did it the right way. I like what I'm seeing. Besides joining your team and going with you, right, in your
Yeah.
brokerage, where would you suggest we start as either smaller individual teams or a mega agent that's like, oh, Kris has got it down. Where do we start?
Yeah, of course. Great question. Start small. Start small and own something, right? I look back to the early days. I look at 2009 and 2010. I started a very small farming area in a community that I lived in, right? So I was doing local events. I was giving back to the community. I was staying top of mind. I was door knocking. I was delivering things of value. I wasn't asking for anything in return, which I think is really critical in the early days of building a brand. You can't get that sort of sales mentality where if I give you this, I expect something back right away. You have to, it's that abundance mindset of investing in others first. And so I was giving back to the community and just being a member of, everything that community stood for. This giving back to the schools, giving back to the local nonprofits, helping anywhere that I could, and really investing in people first. And then over time, I started to expand that radius of my farm, which was a few more neighborhoods. Some people call them subdivisions. And then it started to expand a little more. Then it was the entire city. Then it was a couple of the neighboring cities. Then it was the entire county. Then it was a neighboring county. Then it was multiple counties. And I just continued to expand that radius over time once I felt like I had a good handle on the area that I was currently serving. And so what I didn't do is go, completely nuts in the entire state. And I think one of the mistakes that so many individual agents, team leaders, and broker owners make is they stretch themselves so thin and they spread themselves all over the place. The new shiny object today, let's try that. Let's try this. And there's only so much of a budget that you have to invest in marketing and branding. And it also takes a long period of time. And so I was very cautious in the early days of what I was investing in. And I was also super patient. And I think that's also a critical part of all of this.
That's true. How did you finally feel comfortable to start expanding bigger? Like, what was that big first step, man? Because,
Once you, yeah. Oh,
It's
I
scary
can relate
for
to them.
even if they're stuck.
Oh,
right? It's
yeah.
like, I don't want to. Tell me about that.
100%. Once you start seeing transactions come in, I just reinvested everything that I was making back in. Where a lot of people in the early days of their business a lot of people essentially are in a startup phase of real estate at any given time, right?
Yeah.
So you're investing dollars, you're investing resources, energy in, and you have to play the long game, not the short game. And what happens often with most people getting into real estate is they invest early on, let's say in a farm, and when they get a commission, they take that entire thing to go live their personal life. It could be pay their bills, it could be luxury items, whatever it may be. I reinvested every dollar that I could back into the business every single time I got a transaction. So as soon as I had enough resources to expand my farm, I did. But I didn't go in debt, and I didn't go to a point where I had nothing left. But every time I got a closing, the majority of it went forward. I just kept reinvesting that. And of course, those that are watching now, you're always going to have parts of your business where you're going to have deficit spending. It could be a seasonality adjustment. It could be a season that you're in the growth of your business, right? There's a lot of times where we're super optimistic and we invest in a person or we invest in a strategy and it doesn't work, right? I mean, I had plenty of those learning opportunities along the way, but I was always willing to invest forward and then take what I learned and just get better each and every time. And I got more things wrong than I did right. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, that was the foundation of what, arguably there are 7 to 8 million people in the area we serve. Probably 90+% of those people know who we are now. And it started with a small little farm. And just over time, we started just expanding it when we could.
What does that look like now? Like, what are you currently tackling? Billboards, radio? I don't know. This is what I'm asking. Radio, magazine, TV. What does this look like? Tell me everything you touch.
I don't know if I'm thinking about that question for a second. I'm like, is there anything we're not doing? Is the better answer. But I mean, we stick to everyone.
You're not on MySpace, Kris.
Are we sure?
I don't know.
So, I mean, everyone, everyone knows our billboards today, but that was the last thing that we did, right? When you look at the farming, in that farming, as soon as we could afford it, we started our own newspaper, right? So we had our own newspaper that we were delivering to the entire community with things that were going on in the neighborhood, direct response in certain areas, things of value in others, like getting really good at copywriting. And then as we expanded, we started to look deep into SEO, social media advertising. I mean, these are things that we were doing back in like 2011 and 12 when very few people were doing it. We were making investments. Once again, when we had a transaction, we were reinvesting in the business. And then in the mass media side, radio was the first pillar. And we did that until we owned some stations and we had good frequency and we had a good connection with the listeners and we were getting support back. Then we added TV and then we stayed focused on TV for a while. After we had TV dialed in, then we added billboards, but it took us 11 years before we got to the billboards. And now everyone says, oh, like he's known for the arms out, all these billboards. They think go all in there. But there's so many steps that we took behind the scenes that people don't see that I kind of wanted to share today, which it's like, I think about trust, right? People brand and market to this level for trust. When they see you often, they trust you. This is why you see companies still continue to advertise in the Super Bowl and everywhere else. Why do they continue to buy ads when people already know they are? It's that trust. It's that connection. And one other thing that we did is we got active with the sports teams, right? So we're the official real estate company of the Minnesota Wild, the NHL team here, and the Minnesota Twins, the Major League Baseball team here, right? So two things of like really tapping into something that people are really passionate about. That's all really behind the scenes. It's so rare that we ever put one of their logos on our branding or on our marketing, but it's the connection and it's the synergy of, hey, I trust this team. I'm passionate about this team. If they're aligned with Kris Lindahl Real Estate, then they likely are a good company too. And so you're looking for things to connect that trust, which helps grow things. And so we're active in, of course, email marketing and all the things that happen there as well. But we're really active in pretty much everything. When you think about an omnipresent strategy, I mean, we're across the board doing most things. But what people miss is all the steps that we're taking behind the scenes to make sure that we're connecting with the people that we're serving, which is critical. Because if you just go out and buy ads and you come across as the slick salesperson, right, very few people are going to want to use you. You have to be invested in the community.
On that piece, dude, I do see when an agent reaches the level you're at, I also see a lot of criticism coming in from other agents because they're hating, right? They're jealous. They have envy because they don't understand that other piece that you just talked about, which is people usually miss that other piece, which is this is still a people business. Like we don't want it to ever change and be a slick salesman type of business. And you've done that so well. And look, I've heard people criticize you or other people. It's like, I just look at it as like, you guys don't understand. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's part of it. Right?
It is part of it. I mean that, you know, of course, most of the people that are making those statements or that judgment have never met me or anyone else that's in a position like I am. Right. And I just know from my own journey, I can't speak for anyone else. There's no way that you can get to the level that we're at with the people in our organization doing what they're doing every single day. If you're not a likable person, if you're not someone that invests in people, you can't get to this level. You cap out a lot sooner than where we're at today because people don't want to be there, right? And the culture is just as important as everything with the customer. If you don't treat your people right, well, we know what happens, and the people don't treat the customers right. And then, you know, you end up with a, you know, low quality experience and 1-star reviews and everything that comes along with that. Yeah. And so a lot of people cast judgment based on what they think someone should be because they're out there, not their own experience of how they've interacted with that person.
Very true. Let's talk about scaling really quick. When it comes to these pieces that you put in place, whether it was the newspaper, the social SEO, TV, radio, anything, do you, when you shift over to the new thing, do you place somebody in charge of each piece? Like, hey, okay, you're going to be the director of this. You're now going to be the director of this. How does that transition work so that you scale correctly?
Yeah, that's really critical in all of this, right? I think it's something that's often missed. Having some sort of org chart, accountability chart, where you draw up boxes of what the duties are going to be for that position. And you don't want any more than 5 to 7 max of what are the highest level duties that this person will do in that box. What are their responsibilities? And the key to success in this is doing the boxes before you put the person there. The mistake that the majority of companies make is they look at their roster, they look at their team, and they go, this person's going to be great over here. And they move someone into a new position based on their own gut feeling of it. They may have not done assessments. They may not be looking at strengths and weaknesses or understanding, like, can this person do the job? And what is the job, right? What is the actual job? And so laying out this chart is so critical in understanding and really getting that clarity piece right. Like, what is this going to look like? If we start this new business, if we launch this new division, like, what are the responsibilities of this person going to be? Oh, we might have that off. And we don't ever get it right. And we learn as this business evolves, and it's a working document that it's ever changing. But I think it's so important for the people on your team and also for yourself to get this piece right. I've seen more companies fail because they're just throwing people around like, hey, I just started this new idea that I learned at the last mastermind or conference I'm at. We're going live tomorrow. And nothing's thought out, and you've got pure chaos, and people are running all over the place. And you see the story happen over and over and over again. And you have to just slow down just a little bit. And I know some, high quick start visionaries don't like anything that's slow or thought out, but it's really critical to sustain the growth and retain the people in the organization, because no one wants to work in chaos forever, right? Initially, some people might find it exciting, like, wow, like this person's got high vision. There's always ideas. There's things that are moving and changing. But long-term, people don't like confusion. They really don't.
No, not at all, man. And you bring up a great point on that. I think that is create that clarity through an outline or through expectations so they know what their job duties are. Very key. As a question for Meredith, what's your recruiting process? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we do a lot of different things, right? And I think when you've created a brand the way that we have and you have quality appointments now, right, we're able to tell a different message and a different story. right? Hey, we offer quality appointments. Hey, all the other real estate teams out there, they can go and enter their credit card number and give you cold leads, but we only hand you appointments, right? So, and what we learned, especially in this market, people want quality appointments because they need closings. What they don't need is cold leads. Now, of course, Meredith, that's our positioning, right? So that's where we're at today. And if I was at a different size in a different way, I might position it differently into what our strengths are and why certain people would want to come into our organization. Today, we've got a machine that just produces massive amounts of quality appointments with people that are already committed to working with us. We need high quality agents that show up and just sign the paperwork. It's at that level with a lot of the transactions that come in. But I realize that for some people that isn't the same thing. And I think the other thing that has really helped us, and for those of you that are watching, I would highly encourage us, go look at my personal LinkedIn. It's just Kris Lindahl. Every single day I do 2 videos of some sort of training for real estate agents, right? So every day I'm putting 2 videos out of things that I know that agents want to hear today. We're sharing it in DMs with people that we know might be a good fit. And we also have a lot of people that are following us. Now, today, great ones get 4,000 views, and most of them are around 400 to 600, right? So the algorithm is a bit different, but we're consistent with it. I can't tell you how many DMs I've received from agents that are interested in working with our team because we're putting out the content. And what we're doing is we're adding value and we're taking care of the agents in our market that their current brokers are not taking care of them. And so we're doing that for them. We're educating them. We're giving them value. And the more that you do that, the things are going to work out in the end. Our strategy wasn't, let's put videos out and we're just going to recruit everyone. It's, let's put videos out on the things that we're learning, the things that we're seeing. And long term, we're going to win because no one else is willing to share all the information and things that we're seeing. So that's one other way that we're really attracting a lot of people that want to be a part of our organization. And I think it's worked really well.
With the value that you're providing, is it because most teams that are starting off, or even middle teams that are doing like okay-ish, I always notice that they want to push the opportunities, like, hey, I've got leads for you. I've got leads for you. What other things are important that you've seen in growing a team and sustaining like this amazing crew so that you get less people leaving, right? Less attrition, more retention. What do you think the key pieces are to keeping a team happy and growing?
I think variety of things. Every single person that's coming into your organization likely wants something slightly different. What's important to them might be different. Some might be parents, some might be grandparents, some might be aunts, uncles, some might be pet parents. Some might have a totally different priority. They might be at a different stage of life. They might be passionate about very different things. And so having an approach that appeals to more than one type of personality is very critical, because not everyone is driven by just like, hey, I want to make as much money as possible. People might be really, especially saw this the past several years, a lot of people were really, one of the biggest priorities for most was, how do I get meaning again in the workplace, right? I went from a work from home, disconnected, not connected to the organization, a bunch of changes, to how do I find that again in an organization? How do I get that meaning, that connection back? That's a priority for a lot of people. And I think even today, there's a lot of people that are looking for what they had before in life. Might not even be in the real estate industry. It could have been a different industry. People are searching for something different, and you have to recognize that. And the way to do that is pay attention to the people that are speaking on social media, that are coming to interviews maybe at your organization, what your current agents are saying. Listen for the commonalities that are coming up and create a strategy that solves that you're hearing over and over again. And that's where you're going to get more people coming to your organization, right? Wow, why is it that I hear from almost every single parent that they're overwhelmed right now, right? If that's what I was hearing, I'd say, hey, we've got a strategy here inside our organization to help parents become successful in their professional life, but also help them be better parents in their personal life. That would be the focus if I was hearing over and over again, parenting is overwhelming right now, right? You have to be paying attention. And I think that's the one thing of all the marketing and all the different success that we've had that people miss on. We are so good at observing human behavior. We listen really well, right? We take in some really good information.
he brings up a good point. I was thinking on paying attention to human behavior, and I was thinking, okay, so there are two sets of audience when it comes to on the recruiting side. Like if you're listening in and you've got a team, you've got one is brand new agents. They're usually switching from a career, right? Usually we don't find somebody coming out of college, coming in and becoming a real estate agent. It's rare. What you do find is somebody took this job or this over here and said, oh, that's not working. I want to be my own boss. What are their pain points, right? Identify their pain points. That's number one. Number two is the agent who's already an agent, struggling, maybe deciding that they want a little bit more time for themselves, or find their opportunities. What are they, right? So I think those are the two audiences. I really like that he was saying that he pays attention to human behavior. That was just writing that down, and then we lost him. I was like, that was perfect, Trenton. What did you think so far, man?
Well, what I was kind of taken away was that I like that when he was growing and all the money that he was making, he was putting back and investing back into the business to continue to grow. I feel like a lot of agents possibly, when they're starting out, when they see that first commission paycheck come in, they're thinking, how can I celebrate? Versus how can I continue to build my brand? How can I continue to build my business and everything like that? And it's also interesting how he mentioned people know him from the billboards. And it's just because something that's resonating with a lot of people that are, out and about, but it's everything underneath that's worked so well for him as well. Being able to attract a bunch of agents to his team, being able to grow his team the way he was growing it, and still focusing again on all those other opportunities and channels to help succeed for his team. Not that was extraordinary, but that was kind of my big takeaways. It's just that, even though people know him from one thing, he's built it from so much other things though.
And I wanted to show a little bit of what, so Kris is a friend of mine from a while ago. And I wanted to show, this is a common question. If you want to know what he's working on online, just do yourself a favor and Google his name, right? So you could just, let me share my screen, coming up, almost there. There we go. So you look at a few things, right? There's the very first thing that pops up is his actual website with his name, right? And then on the right, the other thing that pops up is his Google My Business, right? With Google reviews, right? 1,500 of them. And that's important as well. That's pretty great.
I learned that he had an office in Denver just from doing that.
Oh, are you guys
really?
there? Are you there?
What's up, buddy?
Either.
Oh, that's unbelievable. That just happened. That's never happened before.
No, don't worry about it, dude. We were showcasing your website.
I love it. My
Google search, your Google search. So.
my computer shut off.
Well, it decided to shut off at the perfect time, dude.
I know. This is all part of the plan.
It gave me the ability to go and search to show people what you were doing. Here's a great question. Dwayne Murphy. So here we go. Are you still seeing success with your scholarship program? It seemed to work really well for you immediately after COVID. Also, are you only recruiting full-time agents to your organization?
Yeah, great question. So full-time agents, yes. I think it's really hard to commit part-time to consumers, and that's just our strategy. I've seen a lot of brokerages that do very well with a different type of message. That just doesn't happen to be ours. The scholarship program works super well if you have the right message. It doesn't really matter what you call the program. As long as you're connecting with people and you're able to help them transition to wherever they are in life to that next place that they want. Right? I could call it whatever I wanted to call it today. If I've got the right strategy and the right things to help people get to that next phase of their life, you will recruit people. So I think what happens is that I'll just be super honest with everyone that's listening today is we had a lot of people copy that program. What they didn't realize is the program wasn't what made it special. What was special is what I said just a little while ago. We're really good at listening to people in our community and figuring out where they're at. So our messaging is constantly evolving to match people where they're at in their life. And so that the call to action is sort of irrelevant if you don't have a message that matches the consumer where they're at today. And so what most people do is they take something that they see someone else doing but they don't actually have the ingredients to evolve and make it better over time. And so true innovation, you have to evolve and you have to adapt every single time the economy, the world changes. You might take something and might have temporary success with it because the message might relate in that moment. You might even find, some information on some copy that's on social media or some copy that's on a funnel or email drip or whatever it may be. But long term, you better have an internal strategy, either whether that's yourself or someone in the company that can evolve and adapt and continue to develop messaging and creative that matches people where they're at. And that's how you win long term.
Dude, I love that. I'm going to summarize that, okay, really quick, because that was brilliant, what you said. True innovation is continual adaptation of what you do to connect with people's current and upcoming challenges. Wow. Yep, that was beautiful. Great job on that, dude. I hadn't seen it that way before, and I wrote that down because I need that on a visual. Kris, that's all the time we have, man. Anything you want to add? Anything else you're working on, or where do people go and jump on your team or brokerage, right? How do people find more about you?
Yeah, I mean, they can follow me on social media and send me messages. I'd love to connect with everything. But I think the important thing in the world today that there's more opportunity than there's ever been. Anytime that a portion of professionals are struggling and there's less opportunity and there's a lot of turbulence, there is so much opportunity in the world right now. If you get the right messaging with the right programs, with the right people around you, it's really hard to lose. And I would just say for everyone watching, if you're not where you want to be, you got to keep moving forward. You got to keep challenging yourself and keep learning and growing. And so if I didn't answer any questions that people have watching this or they watch the replay, send me a message on any of my social media accounts, and I'd be happy to answer those questions or anything that if I can answer it. I don't have, but pretend to have all the answers. There's a lot of stuff that I'm still learning and trying to figure out myself. So, but if there's something you've seen that I'm doing or a question that you have, definitely send me a message.
I appreciate that, man. I'll send you a message on Instagram.
I like it.
I'll text you. Kris. Thanks so much, everyone. Trent, thanks so much. Everybody else, thanks for joining us.